Tim. And then we will see the winner of this series go on in the grand final to take on Tado. That is going to be, I believe, casted by it's Mem today. Zach, Mem coming on with Rez, or who's next? Who's after us?
Yeah, that's right. Mem and Rez will do the grand finals today.
Okay, awesome.
Yep. Yep. Okay, I've sorted out the issue, and we're gonna start the game now. So we have Bedouins right now for the second semi-final, as we've said multiple times already. Let's actually do it.
I'm ready. You're ready. The game is ready to launch. Let's do it, guys.
We're all ready. My body is ready. My mind is ready. And Tim and BackT are ready, and hopefully Killer B is ready too, as we go into our second semi-final today. Tim versus BacT. A semi-final which a lot of people probably didn't expect to see coming, but one which should deliver some fantastic games nevertheless.
Yeah, and staying with that unexpected theme, we're going to have Franks versus Ethiopians. That's a little unexpected for me. Interestingly, though, before we talk about civs, both players going to put down their TCs very close to each other, right in the dead center of the map. So this could be a really intense early game, Zach.
Yeah, and I think Tim might be on course to make a name for himself here as that guy that always has the crazy games. Because if you saw the Tim versus Leary quarterfinal, you would know that Tim, fantastic player, and also able to pull out quite the showstopper as well. Interesting choice of civs. Neither player going for any civ that gets any kind of advantage on this map. You know, we saw Chinese Mirror before. We saw, we sometimes see Mayans for the extra villager. We sometimes see Persians. We sometimes see even Indians for the shorefish gather bonus. But the Franks, the Ethiopians? No.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Franks makes sense in a way because, you know, you're going to have nice early game scouts, and it is a scout heavy map. It's still weird, but I'm trying to rationalize it. And BacT is going to have the Ethiopians. You get a little early boost of resources when you hit the feudal age. That can be a really nice saving grace in some situations. This map is so close to each other that I don't even know if scouts are really the soup du jour here, Zach. I mean, you're so close to your opponent's base. We have talked about this map being, it usually either gets crazy with scouts everywhere or towers everywhere or both. And this seems like a game where towers might actually be pretty useful in such a close map.
Yeah, absolutely. And if towers are on the cards, who's got the stone? It's both of them, in fact. I mean, BacT has stone under his TC, and Tim has stone behind it, which he's milling now, so he'll be able to see that and take that as well. So yeah, interesting that both players so close together here. It's certainly going to make for a spicier game. The gold situation in the middle of the map is a little bit more favoring Tim. There is gold to the north of BacT, but other than that, he's going to have to go very far away to gather some gold safely. And so I'm expecting some interesting gameplay on our hands right here. I kind of hope this game goes long, because I love the games where it's kind of messy at the start, and then they somehow build up these huge bases behind the front line, and they have this sort of no man's land in the middle where they just fight for the whole game. That would be awesome.
It really is an amazing situation that can come down. I mean, it's all about getting a little advantage and trying to exploit it. But in a tournament game, you got to be pragmatic, too. You can't take too many risks. Well, players often don't. Maybe these two guys are the exception. I could foresee these guys putting the chips on the table at certain moments. But yeah, I mean, let's see if somebody can get an advantage here early on and utilize it. If not, a late game could be really interesting. I think Tim's base is probably not as good for late game. He's already kind of in a little bit more of a corner. But we'll have to see how the next 20 minutes or so shape up, see if both players are still alive to sort out game number one.
Absolutely, absolutely. As far as the civs are concerned, I mean, we talked about the Franks having the scouts. What are the Ethiopians doing here? You know, what are they doing? Why are they finding themselves in the Bedouins? You know, what is their purpose? Well, the purpose of the Ethiopians, it's varied. You know, they have fantastic archers. They could do some kind of Drush man-at-arms archer kind of play. I just think it's kind of hard to utilize the man-at-arms too well because players start underneath the TC, and you know, since it's a nomad start, they're going to stay kind of close to the TC. but there's always areas of exposed villages, you know, near the mill, for example, for both players, that could be abused. And there's the barracks from BacT, in fact. That was a nice rhyme. But he's going to be up to feudal any second, and maybe following this up with some militia man-at-arms.
Yeah, you kind of get a subsidized men-at-arms upgrade if you're Ethiopians. It just it's so natural as you hit the feudal age, you get the resources in the bank, and that's right when you want to click men-at-arms. So that can work well. And man, BacT, I don't know if he could have gotten a better map generation. He's so close to his opponent Tim. The one saving grace for Tim is that he does have a backstone, and Tim is sending 3 villagers out to that backstone right now. So he sees the writing on the wall and knows what's going to go down. It's just not too ideal to have Franks. I mean, the Franks in this situation are not quite as good, in my opinion, as the Ethiopians. Had they been far away from each other, I think I would prefer the Franks. But, you know, BacT gambles and I think gets a small advantage, but now he's got to convert it. BacT sending a villager or 2 to stone now as well.
Yeah, can he get the conversion? We will see, as the feudal age timing is, I mean, this is just absurd. It's a minute difference. That's so huge. You know, BacT only building 1 mill, Tim building 2, and yeah, I mean, BacT just with this huge feudal age advantage. Of course, he's behind in vills, but he'll catch up once he reaches feudal. And look at this. Does he know that Tim is gathering stone there? He doesn't, but maybe he's got a map hack, because look at this. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Obviously, I'm joking, just to be clear. But he's heading straight in here, and he's going to find it. But Tim with the quick walls won't be quick enough to save all of these villagers, as BacT does head over that way and pushes those vills away, but doesn't find any kills just yet.
Yeah, and here comes the first tower from BacT. Men-at-arms on the way as well. He's got 4 or 5 villagers building on the front. And, well, Tim's front wood line is basically going to have to be abandoned, I would think, because he's still not in the feudal age.
Absolutely. This is what I mean. The feudal time is significant, and that allows BacT to get a tower up before a counter tower can even be built. That's going to range all the wood. Hopefully, Tim has 100 wood in the bank to actually build a second lumber camp, and he does, so he'll be able to relocate. But imagine if he didn't even have the 100 wood. He'd be in big trouble. Fortunately, he does have that, and he will build the lumber camp, but that means the second building is off the cards. He cannot afford a stable right now, and he just has to wall up, buy some time, and maybe build some defensive towers as BacT comes around the top side looking for tower number 2.
Yeah, and those men-at-arms are such a major player in this game, because BacT's going to roam around. He's going to see that Tim's building a defensive tower on this. Is he going to see that? I think he does see that there's a defensive tower on that top mill. So forget about that top mill. I'll go to the next mill. I've got my men-at-arms as a little vanguard to keep my villagers safe. And there's even 2 more M&A coming. This could be really over soon for Tim. This is rough.
It's beautiful, you know, really taking advantage of the fact that the Ethiopians get that 100 free food and gold. That's 5 men-at-arms right there. Hey, he can even build a 6th if he likes. He's got gold in the bank, and the tower is up. The villagers now on the stone are trapped. The stone is now denied. Is this a game that's going to be over by 15 minutes? Look at this. Tim trapped in here. He's got to run. He's losing vills.
Man, what an amazing start. BacT kind of rolling the dice with the Ethiopians, in my opinion, but so far it's really paying off. His first tower is down. He's harassing a lot. Tim still does have that second wood line hidden, so at least there's a ray of hope. But man, those men-at-arms, they look like they're making a beeline almost for the wood.
So close. Is he going to find it? Is the he's found it.
Yeah, he's going to find the tower.
Well, that tower is up, so it's going to be hard for him to do anything there. Tim will rush this tower down. And I tell you what, though, if Tim could do anything here, it's make a comeback. Tim is the kind of player that could bounce back from this, and it's not like it's over. Look at the KD. 1 kill, 0 deaths. For BacT. That's it. There's only been 1 kill this whole game, and it was 1 villager from Tim. And Tim has a 1 villager advantage. So it's far from over. Things are looking dicey, but it's far from over. BacT has to convert this military potential energy into damage.
Yeah, and BacT's got a little bit of a heavy decision to make, where to put the next tower. He's decided to put it up on that pond in the north so that he can harass those 3 vills. That's nice, but it's a big deal because that's his major advantage right now. He's got stone, and his opponent just got back onto stones. So Tim will not have a defensive tower for a little while to come. The men-at-arms still roaming around looking for damage, but they're mostly walled off of the major damage. So BackT's still got some work to do to take this game down. Nice defense from Tim, and guess what, Zach? We got a stable up and a couple of scouts that are built for the blue player Tim.
This is where the counter-attack comes in, and the spearmen from BacT are already coming in right now. He sees, look, he's got vision on that stable, because I'm assuming he's done Town Watch, like this, Town Watch. Like, there's no way he'd be able to see that without Town Watch. And so that's really valuable for him. The vision he's gaining from that in his towers allows him to see the scouts, know that they're coming, and prepare the spears before the damage is done. He even sees the scouts going to the north. That's how valuable the vision is, and he should be positioning the spearmen to the north. Seems sloppy that he's not done that, but he might do that very soon as Tim comes forward now with some vills.
Oh boy, though. BacT gets a tower up in the back of Tim's base, takes away his stone, grabs down another villager. Very nicely positioned tower there for Mr. BacT. Tim is trying to build offensive towers now on the front, but you'll have to note that he can only afford this one tower, so it can't be a protracted tower push for him. Tim's still treading water here. He's in a lot of trouble, but he's still treading water.
Yeah, absolutely. And the scouts now are going to take fire from the TC and the spear. I mean, that was kind of sloppy from Tim. Probably focused on other things at the same time. But yeah, the point being here that the line of sight from these towers is just so large that he has so much vision and he has so much more time to prepare and react to what Tim is doing. That's really valuable. And that's something that could be giving BacT enough of an advantage to pull a victory out of this game.
Yeah, Tim dives in with a couple of scouts to try to take down those forward villagers that were building towers. I think he got one, but he is now repelled back by the men-at-arms and the tower arrow fire. So Tim, trying to keep his hopes alive here, is going to start taking that gold on the front of his base. He's 5 villagers behind. He's in a lot of trouble here. He's going to need a big play to turn this game around. And so far, all I see for plays from him, I guess, is going to be more scouts. I don't see much more than scouts for him right now.
Yeah, I think right now Tim's just going to go balls to the wall and go in, sending the villagers forward, sending the scouts, taking down that tower. I mean, this is a real Tim thing to do. Just send in everything. You know, halfway across the map, doesn't matter. Send them in anyway. And he's going to take that tower down. Was that worth it for Tim, though? Well, not really. I mean, he could maybe leapfrog and do another tower now, but that cost him a lot of villager time.
Yeah, in the meantime, Tim has moved to a mining camp up in the north. He's got 7 villagers taking stone. It's kind of a hidden location. BacT knows about the stone pile, but obviously has not scouted the mining camp. Or maybe not obviously, but he hasn't scouted it. Tim will go double ranges now. BacT has already added in 1 range, so we're going to see fletching coming from BacT and a couple of ranged units here on the map.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're now going to see the Ethiopians potentially shine because, I mean, to be honest, you don't really want to be going into archer production as the Franks. It's not really a long-term unit choice, and the Ethiopians are going to outclass them with their faster-firing archers anyway. So that's something that plays well into BacT's hands, I feel. But yeah, Tim spreading out across the map. He's moved villagers from the stone over to the fish now on the right side. And yeah, I mean, you noticed that BacT built the palisades around the watchtower, which was pretty nice. But Tim breaks those villagers free and goes back to trying to secure his base. It's messy. There's towers everywhere. This is the kind of game that I see BacT ending up in more often than not by my count. So BacT might be well equipped to deal with this. A little BacT pause coming in the chat. Classic right there. But yeah, for the time being, things quieting down a little bit, I guess, as both players start their archer production now and back up just a little bit.
Yeah, this is definitely a nice position to be in if you're playing as BacT. You got 10 more villagers than your opponent. You got a little bit larger of an army. You've done some good damage. You've created some idle time. But, you know, Tim is still here fighting this out. He's going to send a few archers forward and see if he can get some damage of his own. 5 archers from Tim infiltrating the back area of his opponent's base. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a nice tower, and that's going to catch out BacT a little bit. He was trying to build a preemptive tower on the goal, but it wasn't preemptive enough, as that villager will probably die, and maybe a couple more to follow as well. So we'll see how that, if he manages to get that up. But yeah, Tim coming in with the archers now as well. No upgrades for Tim. Fletching only just being completed, but it's enough to get in there and do some damage. And wow, BacT is just towering up everywhere. He's like, more towers, please. Give me that line of sight. And the value of that is huge.
Yeah, Tim with a nice little push through his opponent's base with a couple of archers, but now those archers are going to be cleaned up. It does look like BacT suffered a little damage, but he still will pull out of this with an 8 villager advantage. Tim right now spending all of the resources he has, floating a bit of wood, but other than that, not much. BacT's a little bit better off economically, as you might expect, but like you said, still mining a lot of stone and building a lot of towers. So these economies are a little hamstrung by the aggression that these guys have put on. But you can't really afford to be the first guy to blink in a trush war. So, yeah, I think both players doing what they can right now. Tim coming in with another group of archers, Zach, right in the front of BacT's base. But those towers, man, there's just so many of them. It's a labyrinth for these archers.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously they're not going to be able to stand up to too much arrow fire at all with their 0 pierce armor. So yeah, they gotta stay clear of them, and it's going to be difficult for Tim to do damage now as a result of the huge number of towers around. Of course, BacT can do some damage himself. Look to the south, there's 6 or 5 archers coming in there, and he'll find some villagers gathering the shorefish. That could be some dead villagers for Tim. And now look at that villager count. It's already a 10 villager deficit for Tim. Make that even more by the time BacT is finished up here in the south.
Yeah, BacT rolling around and raiding and starting to stockpile a little bit of food. Maybe going to think about Castle here in a couple more minutes, but for now, both guys still building up using whatever they can to build up military. Tim going for padded archer armor, so he is listening to you, Zach. He wants to get some defense on those archers. But for now, he's been really trying hard to get damage, and he just hasn't really hit pay dirt yet. He's now 14 villagers behind BacT. BacT's going wheelbarrow, and that probably means he's ready for Castle soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tim is way, way, way behind in that Castle Age upgrade. Does not look good for Tim in this position. BacT had a great start, and he's converted that into a great early game. And if this carries on, it'll be a great mid-game as well, because, like I say, Tim will not be castle for some time, and BacT will be clicking up in just a few moments here. He's getting good kills around the map. It's an even KD, but the villager difference is absolutely absurd right now. A 10 villager difference, that is huge.
Yes, indeed. 10 villagers different. The Castle Age click will come in just a moment. Tim's win condition is hanging by a thread. I don't really see too much momentum for him around the map. He's trying to make something happen with a couple archers here and there, but it is really, really difficult. There's just so many towers from the red player, and, you know, BacT's army is 19, Tim's is 18, so there's no real easy answer here in the feudal age for Tim. Notably, BacT has clicked up. Tim is on 75 food, 21 gold. I think it's very well warranted to give the GG here when the Castle Age upgrade completes for BacT.
Yeah, I agree. And if not, then I think he'll add some siege and start sieging the towers. He'll obviously get crossbowmen. And the Ethiopians here poised perfectly to do damage. He's even actually going to drop down 2 staples. You know, Ethiopians not with the best cavalry, but in this kind of situation, doesn't need to be the best. Any cavalry will do damage and keep Tim in a sort of defensive position. If he starts to get raided by some knights, for example, could be big trouble. But yeah, I'd like to see the siege. I'd like to see the crossbow, and obviously we'll see some knights coming through as well. So yeah, market for BacT as well. Don't think he needs to rebalance his economy too badly. He's got a lot of food and a lot of gold. I'm not sure.
It's kind of interesting right now. Tim is putting his entire force of army to take down those villagers, those annoying villagers who have been forward since the beginning of the feudal age. He's got like 15 or so archers just harassing those 3 or 4 vills. Crossbowman Bodkinero on the way for BacT. Castle Age is in. Tim is not ready for the GG. He's going to fight it out a bit longer, and he's going to be fighting it out against crossbowmen with Bodkinero and knights probably without any upgrades, but knights nonetheless. Well, +1 defense. They're going to be nasty versus what Tim has on the map.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem we have right now is that BacT is raiding the woodline in the south, and he's got crossbows up in the north. He's everywhere, finding damage, forcing villagers to go idle. 13 idols for Tim right now. And on top of all of that, Tim still nowhere near clicking up to the Castle Age. This is a losing battle, and I don't know realistically how he's going to be able to equalize here.
Yeah, all Tim can really take from this game is maybe warming his fingers up a little bit more for the rest of the series, getting in a couple more bits of micro and trying to get himself back on track, I suppose. I just don't see a win condition for him, but he's fighting it out a little longer nonetheless. The Knights are starting to roll in. They will kill a lot of villagers on that back wood line from the blue player, Tim. Tim's going to be down to 31 vills. His eco at the moment is still nowhere close to clicking up to the Castle Age. And his military number, well, it's still hovering around 20. But of course, they are still feudal archer units mostly. So a really tough position for him.
Yeah, I'm just really wondering what on earth he's going to do. I don't see how he's getting back into this. By the time he's clicked up to the Castle Age, the villager difference is going to be, well, it's already 20. By the time he reaches Castle, it's going to be closer to 25, 30. And yeah, I don't see how he's going to do damage. He's simply just defending, and that is where he calls the GG. There we go. Tim, he played on perhaps a little longer than he should have done, but he was trying to, try his luck and see if he could find something there with that relatively large army that he had. But in the end, he was outnumbered, outgunned, and outplayed by BacT in game number 1, as BacT will take the first win in the second semi-final. Good start from BacT, really.
Very good start. But the storyline to me is that both of these guys took a risk with their Civ situations. I think that the Ethiopians, maybe it's just my opinion, maybe people disagree, but if you're far from each other in this situation, I think the Franks are probably going to win. If you're close, I think the Ethiopians are probably going to win. And these guys built their TCs very close to each other, and those subsidized men-at-arms and early towers from BacT just did too much damage. Tim never fought his way back. But we'll have to see if Tim can fight his way back on Mediterranean in the next map. I think that is a map where I would give Tim a pretty solid advantage, but I suppose we'll find out in a few minutes. For now, it's 1-0. 1-0 for Mr. BacT.
For sure, and we're going to see the next game in just a moment here. We have, obviously, as you say, got Mediterranean up next. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, if BacT makes it to the grand final against Tato. We know Tato's in the grand final. If BacT makes it there, it's going to be interesting to me. I mean, I'm not going to say bad blood. I'm not going to say grudge match, but you got to think about the history. They used to be teammates on Tyrant. Tyrant disbands. BacT goes to VNA to play in this tournament, and then Tyrant makes Team Secret. So these guys know each other. They've been teammates. I believe they've even met. Right, actually, no, they've not met in real life, but they've been teammates in the past, and it'll be a very entertaining grand final. Whoever makes it through, but I think if BacT was to make it through, people might even be surprised to see him there against a player like Tim, who has time and time again proven that he is a world-class top-tier player. So let's go into game number 2 and get this next game going in just a second here.
All righty, sounds good. Thanks, guys, for being here once again. I hope you're having a good time. We are in the semifinals, the second semifinal. We'll have the grand final of this set of matches coming right after this, and it's going to be Rez and Mem bringing you guys home with a couple of great casts. This series is a best of 5, as you probably can see on the screen. And right now, we've got BacT with a 1-0 advantage, but it's there's a lot of game left to be played here. We got to keep our eyes wide open because, well, Mediterranean is a map that early advantages can turn into big late game advantages. Ready for game number 2? Let's do it.
And we're in. We're here, and we're ready to go. BacT versus Tim, game 2. What color was BacT last game? I think he was red, wasn't he?
I think so too.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to put BacT in red, at least for this game. Yeah, he was red last game. The colors switched on me because we got a different POV, so it swaps over. But we got him in red. We got Tim in the blue, and we have BacT to the south here as the Italians. Tim up to the north in the blue as the Italians as well. It's another mirror match, and it's going to be Mediterranean. The map which, of course, he took in absolute style from Leary last time around.
Yeah, and I feel like he might have been the only person in this tournament who had a chance at taking this map from Leary. It's going to be an interesting game. I want to see what BacT goes for. He's certainly no slouch on land or on water, but I think I favor Tim quite heavily on the water. But we'll see. BacT with a great first game. He's obviously feeling good today. He's got his momentum going after that first match, and we'll see if he can get a win on Mediterranean. No surprise about the Italians mirror, Zach. I don't think we're going to see any surprises in the Dark Age unless someone can poach a villager. What do you think as this game goes on? Do you think BacT on water is strong enough to really stand and fight with Tim?
I think BacT sort of thrives in the chaos. You know,
okay.
he's the guy that's like chaos all around him, and he'll stand up and he'll make something out of it. I've seen a lot of... I remember watching a game a long time ago, BacT on Hamburger. I was watching it on his stream, his point of view, and it was really intense. Like, there was 20 different things going on at the same time. And, oh, Tim, gonna run into the TC. BacT, no! Why? He ungarrisoned. He could have killed the scout there.
I think he will still get the scout. His own scout is on the trail of it. But yeah, that was a bit weird. Why not one more burst of arrows and finish the job? Tim is on the way out now with his scout, and he won't get any shenanigans done. And he's not going to have very much vision here as the game goes on.
If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. Let's remind ourselves of that age-old saying as Tim will walk away. The scout is so valuable, man. Like, if you have your scout alive as BacT, you could delay your opponent's dock. You could harass the vills going over there. You get the scouting information. You know if they're going to attack you on the land. There's so many advantages to having the scout alive. But unfortunately, Tim walks away. Well, unfortunately for BacT, Tim walks away. He still have 11 health, and he might make it back safely. Tim could still lose his scout, of course, if he's sloppy, but I think he'll get it back in time. And maybe he wants to wall up this villager. No, he'll be okay, I think.
Yeah, that scout in full retreat. But, BacT's going for the Vill. He's going to give it a shot. Ran past the Vill. A little bit of bad pathing, and now he's going to give up on it.
Oh, classic, isn't it? That's a classic right there. But hey, it's okay. His scout's still alive. It's looking a little bit more healthy than Tim's. Tim's scout's kind of, got a big gaping wound and is just sort of limping around bleeding all over the map, whereas BacT is absolutely fine. But anyway, as I was saying, I've seen BacT handle really crazy situations before and do it well. But I think this map is a bit more standard, and on water... I wouldn't say either player was bad on water, but I wouldn't say either player was particularly standout on water either. And I think it will be probably playing into Tim's favor.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens here. I mean, obviously both guys are really great, and neither one of them can really afford to have any miscues in the early game. The eco balance in the Dark Age is going to be extremely important. You got to hit Feudal Age with 2 docks if you're going for the galley play, and nearly enough eco for the 3rd dock coming. You want to be pumping those fire galleys out early, and you want to be up to Feudal Age early. Usually it's 19 villagers and loom for the Italians, and that's what it's going to be for BacT. But on Tim's side of things, there is a 20th villager on the way.
Yeah, maybe Tim doesn't know how to play water after. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, he's going up quite considerably later, actually, in comparison, though, which is, well, it's not good. But 1 extra villager, I don't think there's that much of a difference that BacT would get over there and actually do any damage in time. So it should be okay. And the extra villager will leave him with a few extra resources by the time he reaches feudal as well. But yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. It may have been a forced thing. I don't know exactly what happened, but it felt like Tim's boars were both in at the same time, so maybe he had some issues with finding them or getting them in. Tim had loom rather early, so
yeah,
not exactly sure. He might not have had an easy Dark Age, but like you said, it's probably not that big of a deal. By the time the ships get across the map, Tim should be ready. However, Zach, I don't see a second dock from Tim yet. Is he going to come out and build that dock or what?
Yeah, it looks like he is, but there's the scout of BacT.
Yeah.
Feudal Age is in. And the villager, The villager's dying, but BacT is backing away. He's backing away, knows there's more villagers coming over. He's delayed the dock, though. And that's pretty significant. Tim's late to feudal. His dock's going to be a little later as well. And meanwhile, BacT is already producing 2 fire galleys. So BacT off to a solid start. And since we were watching the scouts fighting, you were right. I mean, maybe something happened with the economy of Tim in the early game that set him back a little bit. But you can see that BacT's clearly made or taking an advantage out of the Dark Age here into feudal. The third dock coming up, the scout there, too low to do any damage, and the villager's even going to get a little jab in there as well as it walks by. Good to know BacT is paying close attention to those villagers as the third dock goes up, and Tim hasn't even started the third dock construction. Remind me, when he played versus Leary, he was attacking on land, right?
Yep.
And maybe that's why. Maybe his water play is a little bit dicey. He's opened with a demo ship though, and that's going to hit kind of hit both. But BacT now maybe playing greedy, going for the fishing ships. Of course, we're playing with the latest patch, and therefore the fishing ships don't just melt to fire ships. They actually have a little bit of resistance, and BacT might be able to only take down 1 fish here. If that, he won't even get 1 by the looks of things.
It's not looking great as far as killing fishing ships go, but the delay of that dock, good demo ship. The delaying of Tim's dock here does help BacT a lot. His military is 6. He's going to have a nice game going forward. He's still got a lot of work to do, but 2 more fire galleys going down now. Tim is down to 2 military.
BacT is dominant right now. Look at this. He is killing it on the water. Tim's adding a third dock, and BacT, he's just 1 step ahead. He's already got 3 villagers heading out to the right side of the map. Dude, this could be a quick game, and I think BacT is in position here to win it.
Yeah, I think BacT's doing a really good job as well. That early scout interaction was such a big deal because it not only gave BacT the opportunity to delay Tim's dock, but it took away Tim's opportunity to delay BacT's third dock. He had a scout nearby. He could have challenged that villager, but couldn't do it. Scout was on too low of HP. So now BacT continues to roll forward with an advantage, and now he's going to come with towers because, well, he is BacT after all. Tim rushing in with 8 vills. Here we go.
Quick walls failing, though. And, you know, Tim didn't even rush with the vills. He's actually trying to send those villagers across the map. And he just happened to see the tower as he walked past. So really fortunate for Tim there as he builds his archery range now after a quick transition into land. But already losing the water at 15 minutes, it's a pretty huge advantage for BacT. And I want to see BacT now making use of that by, wow, look at this, using the fire galleys to kill the villagers and allow him to wall these villagers out and close off this side of the map. Is he even going to wall up the archery range?
Yeah, it looks like he's going to give it a try. Going to try to stonewall that in. Is going to need a little more time, but yeah, you don't see fire galleys harassing land units that often. But you know, this is the right situation. Another villager down for Tim.
Wow, 4 villager advantage for BacT right now, and 3 fish as well. This is huge, and you know, he came out with a really aggressive strat in game 1 and dominated that game. He's played extremely aggressive in game 2, and it looks like he's dominating this one as well. And this is really impressive from BacT. I mean, seriously, I've not seen him get this far in a tournament for some time. And, you know, we did a lot of tournaments last year with Escape Gaming, the Escape Gaming Masters, you know, the Elimination Draft, all these other tournaments we did. And BacT was there. He was always there, but he never really made it past a certain point. And to see him here in the semifinals performing so well, it's very nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, he's keeping the pressure on Tim. Tim will get his own tower down and try to push back the forward here from BacT. BacT's up by 4 vills, but it's soon to be 3 because there's 1 villager who's basically toast, caught between fire galleys and an archer. But the big difference is the galleys on water for BacT. Continues to control it, continues to fish, should have a nice advantage. Tim's going to put it all on the line, I think, Zach. He's got 6 villagers coming forward, and if this push fails, he's probably going to be without a win condition again here in game number 2. So let's see if he can get something done.
Yeah, and you know, BacT knows that this aggression is coming on the right side. He's already walled up. It's a little messy, but it's a wall, and it's going to prevent Tim from just running in and doing damage too quickly here. He's even walling up again a bit further forward as well, starting to add in a defensive range. And obviously, if BacT can completely close off the water and win the water, he can add more fish, and that's just going to make his defense a little easier, a little better, and allow him to go castle a little sooner as well. So Tim, what's this? An outpost, and yeah, he sees the wall, sending the villagers back, and is actually walling forward. Interesting.
Yeah, Tim is he's pulling off the old no retreat. He's going to wall his own villagers in for the forward aggression.
I like that. That's good.
There is no retreat. There's a stone wall behind us. He's putting them between a rock and a hard place. They're going to come forward and try to get something done. The blue player is not taking stone. Tim is not going to try to drop towers. He's going to try to build up a forward and make something happen. You mentioned BacT would want to add some more fish. He has added more fishing ships in, and he continues to add them in. So BacT knows what his advantage is, and he's taking full advantage of that fishing.
Yeah, this seems so sloppy from Tim, right? I mean, why send this many villagers forward if you're not going to add towers, right? I mean, 2 villagers would be able to build an archery range over here. You don't need 6, and now they're just idling, not collecting any resources, not really doing anything at all. Gonna run into a wolf. That's about all that's happening down here. And hey, maybe he'll just build up a little base down here. Who knows? But at the moment, nothing's happening. And meanwhile, BacT's clicked up to the castle age. I mean, I want to say 90% this game is BacT right now.
And that's probably conservative, but yeah, I think BacT's running away with it. Tim is starting to take some stone. Maybe he's thinking about some towers in the future. For now, he's actually dropped a mining camp in that bottom corner to get a little resource into the bank. Tim's resources, by the way, 250 food, 100 gold. So he's not clicking castle anytime terribly soon. BacT is about to kill off 3 of Tim's docks if things don't change here pretty quickly. So Tim's in a heap of trouble here, and yeah, there's a tower from him.
A lot of demo shots coming out, but it's not enough, you know. Tim's just building demos, blowing them up, and he still isn't winning the water control back, so they're not really achieving anything. The docks are going to die anyway, and yep, the tower there is nice. It will scout perhaps the transport ship, and it will, you know, annoy the fish, but BacT is going to transport some crossbow over, I think, or yeah, a group of archers and scabs.
Yeah, and this is a very nice thing to be able to do at this point in the game. He is going to send just the archers and leave the skirmishers behind, I suppose. Going to send a villager, actually 2 villagers as well with this forward attack. It's a really nice thing to be able to do because Tim doesn't really want to build so many towers back at home. He doesn't really want to play defense. He wants to be the aggressor with these forward vills, but BacT's not just going to let him off the hook. It's kind of the old school play, right? Once you win the water, you transport across some archers. So,
man, all hands on deck earlier. Now we're letting him off the hook because he's fishing so hard with his gill nets over here. No, we're not going to do that. He's going to get this hook, line, and sinker, it seems, as BacT will drop the Siege Workshop across and a stable as well. Tim, does he see it? I don't know if he has vision on that. I think he does. Yeah, he's got all the vision in the world, apparently, as the stable and Siege Workshop will be more than visible. But yeah, the crossbows now need to prevent this wall from coming up. If they weren't just standing there behind the Siege Workshop. Well, missed opportunity there. Could have prevented the wall.
Yeah, Tim's going to get that wall almost done. Not quick walling. Slow walling.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to get 1 panel there on 41 HP. He had a lot of time to get a couple hammers down on that last piece of wall, but now 3 crossbows are in on his wood line, and 3 is a magic number. There's going to be a lot of dead villagers because of just these 3 crossbows. Notably, Zach, BacT is adding insult to injury here. He's got 3 TCs behind this push, so the GG from Tim is extremely well warranted. You're in the feudal age on 1 TC with essentially no military, versus a guy with 10 fishing ships, 3 TCs, and an army sitting in your base. It's way, way over. You and I, we gave the advantage to Tim on this map, and I guess BacT is, well, he's not going quietly in this set of games. This is 2 in a row for him. Got some momentum.
Wow, man. I mean, seriously, That the play from back today has been fantastic, and 2-0 now, match point for the next game, and back's thinking to himself like, oh man, I'm going to be in the final versus Tato. I'm going to score our team some points. We're going to win a lot of money as well because there's a decent prize pool on the line. Maybe Robo can give us the numbers because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But BacT, he's got the end in sight right here, probably, as he goes 2-0. And not just any old 2-0, a very dominant 2-0 as well. So we'll see if he manages to close this one out in game 3. Tim, of course, going to be fighting tooth and nail to bring this one back.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim is in a really rough position. Obviously needs to win game number 3 to keep his hopes alive. I think we have Dry River coming. Is that true, Zach?
Let's have a look. It is indeed Dry River coming up next. Right. So cool map, and another map which could potentially give us a very short game. We saw the Tato game earlier on, and that was over in about 20 minutes, I think, versus Nikov. So exciting stuff. Obviously, I hope we don't have a quick game. I'd like to see a long game. I'd like to see Tim bounce back, because for me, a good tournament is a tournament with a lot of games, and BacT can still take his victory. But let's at least see 2 more before we get to match point. That would be my ideal. But we should waste no time. We should go into game 3. We should start up Dry River right here and get this one going. Yeah, there's $1,008 for first place and $684 for second place. So if BacT makes it to the grand final, he's guaranteed at least $684 for him and his team. And I don't know, but I think that goes quite a long way in Vietnam.
Goes a long way anywhere, my friend. I think I could use that money at IKEA over here in Sweden. A lot of meatballs for $680.
How much are meatballs in Sweden in your IKEAs over there? Like a dollar? Surely not.
Yeah, they give them away for free. I was just lying.
What?
But,
so you're getting limited meatballs? Damn, I would just live in IKEA if I were.
Why do you think I live here?
For the free meatballs, obviously. All right, guys, game 3 coming right up. Tim versus BacT. It is match point in this best of 5 semi-final. And what a semi-final it's been so far. Absolutely dominant performance from BacT. And now it all comes down to this. Tim needs to pull a victory here if he wants a chance at making it to the grand final to face Tato. And BacT, well, he's got victory in sight. One more win and he'll make it.
Yeah, BacT, he's really showing up. It feels like he's that guy in the league who's been around for a long time, and you're thinking like, maybe his best days are behind him. And then he just shows up on a weekend like this and just looks amazing. I mean, he's still got a lot of work to do here to finish Tim off. If he can do it, it would be a really vintage performance from BacT. However, Tim is putting on a vintage performance of his own. He's looked like the Tim of old in the last few weeks. And we'll see if he can claw his chances to win a little bit back from the edge. Persians versus Byzantines here, Zach, on Dry River. What are your thoughts about Byzantines in this game?
Yeah, I mean, interesting use of word vintage right there. Obviously, BacT is making or looking for a vintage performance today. He's gone for the old thrift shop play with the Byzantines saving a lot of resources on their counter units. Now, I used to say that the Byzantines save money on their trash, but I got called out for that because apparently they're counter units, which is true because skirms, pikes, and camels are very good defensive counter units. But I don't know. I don't know what to call them. Trash counter units, you decide. Doesn't really matter. Interesting civilization choice. And completely different to what we saw earlier. I can't remember. What was it we saw in the Nikov Tato game?
That was the first game of the set. I think we saw...
Boy, I don't putting you on the spot here.
I don't remember.
I think it was a mirror, but I don't think we saw... Yeah, I don't think we saw either of these civs, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Scouts from Tim, perhaps, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw barracks coming down, men-at-arms play. We saw BacT doing that in Bedouin's game, so if he wants to get aggressive, that is a strat that is popular and does work on this map as well.
The chat is informing me that it was a Huns mirror earlier on in
Yeah,
the day.
Hun's mirror. There you go.
We've also seen earlier in the tournament. I think we've seen Mongols used to good effect on this map. It's a map with a bunch of shorefish and a huge opening. It can be really nice to go for a food heavy unit like scouts and get across the map and do some annoyance. Neither player, Zach, went to the center area as fast as we've seen in some of the previous games, but both guys do eventually get their forward mill up and start taking that shorefish as fast as they can. Can't wait to see how this shapes up. It's an open, little bit crazy map. BacT has done a really nice job in game number 1 with towers. I think towers are maybe not as good in all situations on this map, but that could be something interesting to keep an eye on. Tim needs a win, so let's pull for Tim. If anybody in the chat has some emotes some prayer emotes or some good luck emotes, Tim needs them. We want to see more games here.
That's true. We certainly do. And there's the barracks from Tim. Very, very, very early. And I think he'll be making some militia here then in that case, as it's a little bit early to go up to the feudal age for him. Now, I'd be interested to see, one of these guys is going to go against Tato. And if this map is played, then we know Tato has a very different playstyle to both of them. And actually, I'm totally wrong on that. These guys have it calculated, right? They know exactly how much food they're going to get and when, and they're both clicked up to feudal very quickly. Obviously, a lot of food stored on those villagers gathering the elephants. It can be a bit deceiving when they have 200 food in the bank, but 300 food on their villagers, which isn't banked yet. But anyway, the militia coming out, men-at-arms to follow. And we'll see the barracks being built by BackT on the left side now. Will he queue up militia? Doesn't look like it. Interesting.
Yeah.
This could be good for Tim.
Tim is going to have a couple vills coming forward, maybe for another mill, maybe for something a little more exciting. We'll see. 3 militia are going to be out, and Tim will actually queue up a 4th militia, so he's going to go pretty deep into some aggression. BackT's coming with 3 villagers toward the center of the map as well, make it 4. So something interesting is going to happen here in a moment. It's a little hard to say. I mean, we could see more mills. Actually, BackT's going to double back. Tim's coming with 5 vills and some militia. He's definitely thinking about some aggression.
Hells yeah, and he's going to have the upper hand to do it as well. BackT will see the militia here with his scout as he takes a hit, and everything is stacked, in my opinion, in Tim's favor right now. He's got a healthier scout, he's got some militia on the map, and we're going to see the man-at-arms upgrade coming in straight away. Spearman coming out for BackT, and archery range coming up for BackT. Not the fast play that we would expect to see on this map, and although he'll rush up that archery range with 5 villagers, by the time he's even made a single unit, the men-at-arms are going to be knocking on his front door. Where's my money? Tim says, as BackT here builds up a watchtower in defense.
Yeah, counter tower from BackT coming up. It is going to be a race. Both of those towers should go up at a decent moment, but there will be some men-at-arms sitting potentially pretty close to that tower. Right now, BackT is repairing the wall, so it doesn't look like Tim is going to get through, but Tim's tower is done. He's firing away. He will not get so much damage, but he does get a villager down there for Mr. BackT.
Yeah, very nice. Picking the villager is always a good start. And BackT now sitting in there with 5 vills. Tim sitting in there with 5 vills. They're both idling. And those men-at-arms are going to look for another way around. They'll find this stone, thanks to Tim's scouting, and probably look to hit that next. Tim going to drop another tower on the front as well here. And we're going to see that right in the face of BackT, denying, more importantly, the shorefish. That's huge. That's going to give Tim a big advantage in food collection, and maybe even force BackT to fall back and build some farms.
And here come those men-at-arms from Tim. They've circled all the way around the map. Tim doing some good scouting, has found the stone, and he's going to put some pressure on BackT there. 4 men-at-arms is too many for these villagers to really fight. 1 vill down already, and if BackT wanted to build defensive towers, well, his chances of doing that just got a lot slimmer. He just lost his stone on that side.
Yeah, 1 villager in there. That's all he's got. And that should be enough to get himself another tower a bit later. But the 3rd tower, well, it's going to take some time unless he moves to the stone in the south. Now, BackT did actually go out to the left side with those vills to take some shorefish. But right now, his military production has basically stopped. He doesn't have anything coming out of the range. He doesn't have anything coming out of the barracks because he doesn't have the food at the moment. He's barely got enough food to keep villager production going. Definitely need to ensure that he protects those fissures on the left side. If he doesn't do that and Tim is able to hit that, then he's in big trouble. Tim now switching into a stable. This is what I like to see. Men-at-Arms into scouts is so strong. The scouts have the maneuverability and they'll counter the skirms, be able to hit those villagers as well quite nicely as well.
I think BacT shouldn't be in as bad of a position as he is. He put some villagers inside of his first defensive tower to deal with Tim's forward tower, and they've been in there for a little while now. Those villagers should be grabbing shorefish. That would be a big food boost for him. Just a little bit busy around the map is BacT, and those villagers continue to sit in the tower. Here we go. They're back out to fishing. But we will see Tim transition into scouts since he's sitting on quite a good amount of food. And we'll see BacT's coming with a counter push, though, Zach. 6 villagers forward.
That he is. Those villagers there coming up to the wood line of Tim. And we're going to see the tower from Tim might not make it up. But I don't know if those skirms they don't have fletching, so they can't quite hit the villagers. But I think BacT's tower will come up first anyway and might get a couple of villager kills here if that tower from Tim isn't fast enough. And there you go. The damage being laid down. He's attacking the wrong villagers, however. There we go. Attack the villagers building the tower. That's the ticket. And that's going to be a mess now as Tim's villagers get very low. Not losing any, but does make for an easy target later on as he abandons the tower on, what, 91%. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we do see Tim diving in with a couple of men-at-arms onto that first defensive tower of BacT. He killed a Vill and idled a few Vills, but now the men-at-arms are off the map. So BacT may be stabilizing the ship here a little bit. Does have a little bit of forward aggression going. He's going to be having to deal with the scouts, but if he can find a way to do that, maybe he can turn this game around into his favor.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the scouts right now, just sort of saving them up. If he can deal with that spearman, then he can easily take down the rest of the skirms. That's no problem at all. Tim is still in an okay position, I'd say. Well, it's in a very strong position even. Not an okay position. It's very strong. But probably, yeah, needs to make sure the tower creep from BacT doesn't get too out of hand, because these towers could start denying his fish, they could start denying his farms and his wood, and that could get messy. So, got to be very careful. He's going to go back to the tower and try and finish it off. Just delete the lumber camp, man. Like, just get that tower up. There it is. And he'll hop in there and try and defend for a bit. But, yeah, he should defend that since BacT only has 1 villager in his tower.
Yeah, fletching on the way now for BacT. He's going to try to push on that stable and force Tim into a decision. We've got 5 scouts inside of there, but 3 spearmen forward for the red player. BacT's going to try to wall it in. Tim's got to pop out. He's got to be decisive here.
He's forcing the issue, isn't he? If he waits too long, then yeah, the scouts are trapped in for good. So BacT, knowing that, he's going to force Tim to pop out, perhaps when he doesn't want to, when there's a bunch of spearmen standing by. But he'll avoid the spears, and he'll keep making some scouts as he goes for the counter-attack now. BacT has all of his spearmen forward, so he might have to... Oh, no, he doesn't. My bad. He's got quite a few at home as well. But he did send a lot forward also. He's just made a lot of spearmen. But, yeah, the scouts looking for damage now.
Well, when you're Byzantines and you see scouts, spears, why not? He's got a bunch of them back at home, as you said. He's got a bunch on the front. And actually, Tim, with these 6 scouts, may have an army without much of a purpose. It's going to be really hard. A couple of spears waiting with open arms for him on the other side. Tim will get bloodlines, though. He's going to actually kind of invest into these units. We'll see, Zach. I mean, if BacT was going to come back, this is the way to do it, I suppose. Use what your Civ does well, and that's cheap counter units.
Absolutely. Tim here building some more towers at the south of his base, a really important area for him because his gold and stone is concentrated down here. So that's going to be pretty crucial. But the thing is, you're right. I mean, he's investing into these scouts. That's Tim. And he's going to struggle to find much with them because, of course, BacT has a lot of spears. Of course, BacT has a lot of skirms, which aren't so great. But the spears, positioned all throughout his base, positioned on the front, they are going to be able to stop the scouts in their tracks. As we'll see what happens now as the scouts come in. Quick wall up, and 1 spearman will get taken down. Of course, the bloodline certainly helps with that.
Yeah, and while those guys position on the west of the map, in the dead center, we do have a tower that
Oh,
BacT was trying to get up that Tim is here to deny with, I don't know, 10 villagers. He's also, Tim, transitioning into some archers now with fletching. So those spears are not going to have free reign. They're going to need some skirmishers along with them. And this tower is not going up. So Tim able to hold the middle, but BacT able to hold his side in defense. And this game
wow.
continues to roll forward. BacT is going to be clicking castle soon, Zach. Tim's a little bit behind on that click up.
Man, this is such a messy game right here. This is getting out of control. This is getting crazy. And Tim, look at that score lead. Look at that villager lead. That's very impressive considering earlier on it was very, very close. He's suddenly swinging it back round thanks to his 14 kills, 6 deaths. But BacT will be up to the Castle Age first. Doesn't matter if he's behind 10 vills. He's clicked up first anyway. And BacT here will be towering up at home with even more towers, defending back at home. And I think, is that a second blacksmith? It is. I wonder why he's done that.
Could be a misplay, a little bit busy, I suppose, but you never know. Archer's still coming in from Tim. He's still trying to, I don't know, transition his army here in the feudal age. Still sitting on a good amount of food and gold, just about to click up to the castle age. It's going to be what, a minute behind for the player in blue. Tim, not that big of a deal. I think he's in an okay spot. BacT's still got to find a way to make something happen here. Are we going to see a siege workshop right away, Zach? Is that the plan in this situation? What does BacT do here?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, to be honest, he could just keep using the trash and then the siege, like you say. At the moment, he's not producing too much, and he's not made a second archery range or a second stable. He's not made a second barracks. He's not made a stable either. And what he needs to be careful of here is not falling behind in military production. Tim, on the other hand, is adding a second stable right now. And he can go for a mix of knights and camels. Probably wants to do that because if BacT starts making camels as well, then he'll have his own camels to deal with them. But some early knights here could be very good. There's a lot of skirms out, and of course the archers will soon be crossbow as well. And he's dealt with the spears nicely.
Yeah, a couple of very nice small engagements on the left center of the map. Tim is cleaning up the trash here pretty nicely. He was able to snipe down the spears and then just, hack down the skirmishers with his scouts. Tim's army is starting to dwindle. It doesn't look impressive, but he did get a lot of bang for his buck in the last few minutes, killing some trash. And now 3 archers of Tim slip into the back area of BacT's base. And BacT will give the GG here.
Wow.
What do you think, Zach? Tim able to snatch a win. Pretty crazy game, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just like that. BacT was faster to castle and then didn't do anything with it, really. Fascinating. I don't think he really had a game plan.
Well, I mean, it can't be understated that Tim did find BacT's armies before they were upgraded, and he probably killed a dozen or so units, and those are really the only thing BacT had on the map. He's got 0 military right now. Man, 3 archers and 2 scouts rolling into the back of your base, but so far behind in villagers. BacT gives the GG, and we all get rewarded with another match in this semifinal. Tim's back is against the wall, but maybe he can claw his way out. I think the next game is on Arabia, so it's anybody's game, I think, on that map.
Yeah, that was a fascinating game. I think Tim played well. BacT didn't have a terrible start, but it just all fell apart in that sort of mid-game. BacT's counter-aggression worked really well, actually, but Tim just had all of his sides covered and just had that greater number of military units. So when it came to actually pushing out, cleaned up BacT entirely and took the win from there with a 10 villager advantage and a 6 military advantage. GG indeed. And Tim gets the score back up 1-2. And we'll see game number 4 in just a minute here. And as you say, it will be on Arabia, a map which, as you say, could be anyone's game. It's the bread and butter of AOC. It's the bread and butter. If you can't play any map, at least learn to play Arabia.
The bread and butter of Age of Empires. I can't wait to see this match. I think both of these guys have a lot to show us. They're both playing great today. Arabia is a toss-up. I like Tim a little bit more, but let's see the civs. I think that's going to be incredibly important here.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see that as we get into our next game in just a moment. We're going to start the game already and get Arabia underway. I'd like to see Tim bounce back here and tie the series up. Would be great, and we'd get to see the 5th game as well on Hideout, a map which we haven't seen yet today. Would be looking forward to that a lot, but we'll see what BacT can do. Can he do the damage in game number 4?
Yeah, Hideout, I think, is my favorite map. It's just so much fun to watch. It's so dynamic. We'll see if we see that in game 5, but let's get ready, guys. It's game 4 on Arabia. Tim must win this game to keep his hopes alive.
Yeah, and we're going to go in now with Franks and Mayans. Interesting choice of civs. We saw Mayans Aztecs on the last Arabia game that we saw, which was Tato versus Nikov. And we saw Tato taking the win with the Mayans here. So if that gives us any kind of information, it could be that Tim's going into this game with a good civ and a good opportunity to equalize things out. We'll see, as the map is obviously going to play into that quite heavily. And hold on a second. What's going on? Why can I see messenger stuff? I don't know. It must be part of the recorded game. But yeah, sorry, Killer B. Let's talk about the maps, because that's going to be really important here.
Yeah, well, first let me start off with a quote. Wise man once said, "Mayans are Mayans, bro," I believe. If I'm quoting correctly. That was Zero Empires a couple hours ago. Mayans here, obviously great on this map. We are going to have to look at the maps, as you mentioned, to see if these players can play to the strengths of their civs. I suppose I can start off on BacT's side of things. He's playing in the southern corner of the map. BacT is going to have the Franks, and he will have berries off to the left, stone off to the left of his base, secondary gold off on that left side. A relatively wallable mid-game stretch on that left side between the wood lines, but he will have to take wood in front of his base, not always ideal. And on the right side, he does have some pretty huge hills, which could be a little bit annoying in the later game. But all in all, a decent map for BacT with the Franks. I expect with 3 villagers on wood early that we're going to see scouts for him. Makes a lot of sense with this civ. We'll have to see if he can get some damage on the other side of the map in Tim's base.
Yeah, one thing I don't like is this wood line. I mean, obviously, this one at the front is his closest, so he's taking that, but it's very exposed. Later on in the game, he can move down to the south where his gold is, or he can move over to the left and kind of wall across. But it's kind of exposed at the moment, and he'll probably want to kind of wall this up with some buildings at the front. Other than that, I mean, his map's not terrible, and we'll see what he can do in the feudal age with scouts. Tim, on the other hand, though, I mean, he's got more options. He's probably... Well, you potentially could be considering the drush. At the moment, 4 villagers on the wood, so barracks could be coming up in a minute. Get that early aggression going. His map's quite open on the... Well, it's kind of open on the front, but then again, this cliff helps out a lot if he wants to wall between the wood line and the cliff. Not quite like Tato's map before, though, where it's easily wallable and you've got all the stone in the back. He does have stone off to the right side, but it's pretty open unless he can wall out here as well, and that's a really ambitious wall off, so I wouldn't count on that happening. And then his second stone, and the reason we're looking at the stone so much is because he's the Mayans. His second stone is far forward behind that cliff, so it's going to be difficult to access.
Ooh, and a little scout shenanigan inside of the red base. Tim is trying to bring back his initial boar. Of course, he's Mayans, so his villager is loomed up, but some really good scout blocking here from BacT. BacT's going to get a villager.
Oh, yes, he gets it, and he's going to steal the boar as well.
Steal the boar.
Cheeky. I like it. He got the second hit on the boar before the villager, I think, managed to shoot, so he's just going to drag that boar home. That's unusual. You don't see that too often. The Mayans getting stolen from. I like that. Tim, though, sees it through the fog of war. He's anticipating where he's going to go, and he's going to try and head this off. If you could block the scout, perhaps, it could work. But, oh, he's got the wrong way. The scout's going around the right side. And now Tim's going to have to play catch-up a little bit here. Won't be so easy, but he's definitely going to make life a little harder for BacT by trying to block the boar. BacT still has quite a way to go, and he's got to make sure he doesn't get too far out of range of that boar, otherwise it will run back. It's kind of intense.
It's funny. I think people who maybe aren't huge fans of the game, who are just kind of here checking out the channel today, they're probably like, why is it so important that this boar is chasing the scout? That's a lot of food sitting on that boar, 340 food that Tim needs. You can see BacT is already on the way up to the next age,
Yep.
and he's actually going to steal that boar, which is really, really meaningful. A very nice advantage, especially for a guy who's going to be feudal soon and building scouts. He's going to have that extra
Yes.
food.
This is actually huge because that boar lure was so easy for BacT because he could focus his attention on the scout since he'd already clicked up to feudal, right? You're not making more villas and tasking them places. You're not going to think about your economy at that point. All you got to do is focus on the scout and bring the boar home, which he does successfully, and that's a great one-up for BacT. Tim, though, switching into building a barracks, and part of me believes that barracks was rushed up very quickly because of where it's placed, and he's now sending 3 militia out across the map. BacT will probably run into that with his scouts. Yeah, he sees it, and he knows it's coming, so he's going to quickly build the stable at home. He should be focusing now on walling up quickly on the left side. Don't build the walls all the way, just close it off, and then start making scouts as well. So, oh man, is he going to let this come through? I thought he saw the militia. I thought he saw them. They're going to get in. Oh, they're not going to get in. Oh, there we go. On the edge of my seat there. No, they're going to get in anyway, but it's bought him enough time to at least get some scouts out here. And he's going to try and wall them in with a gate. Can he get a gate in a house? The gate and another house. Oh, it's so close.
Oh, man. His own scout, I think, might have stopped that third house from coming down. But okay, so BacT is holding the line. He's going to have scouts back to deal with this. But in the meantime, Tim has added a mill back at home, and he's milling his deer to make up for the lost food. So Tim's playing from behind, losing an early vill to some laming and losing a boar to some laming. But Mayans are Mayans, bro. Maybe if he can keep this game going into the late Castle Imperial Age, maybe he's got a good chance to bring it back. Right now, this Drush is still alive. Possible to still go men-at-arms if you want to. Back at home, we are seeing Tim transition over to gold as we speak.
Yes, and we're going to see the man-at-arms upgrade most likely. He might cancel it if the scouts come in and kill the militia before he can upgrade, which he might actually find himself doing. And yeah, BacT is in a really good position now. He should clean this up, even bringing the villagers over to fight. So yeah, man-at-arms is off the table. Microing the scout back and getting the kill. Nicely cleaned up, not losing a single scout there, and now he can push out, walling up as well somewhat as he closes off the left side. Might want to move that lumber camp at some point now, but all in all, good stuff for BacT, and lots of wood in the bank, ready to seed down some farms. So many benefits here to stealing that boar.
Yeah, and Tim's got a snuck vill that was in BacT's line of sight a few times now, but we haven't seen BacT react to it. This villager has some real luck on his side.
Hell yeah.
He walked across the map. He walked past a couple of scouts already, and now he's going to drop down a tower, and BacT still seems unaware of this. So, okay, BacT's eye is on the prize. He wants to punch his ticket to the grand final here today. But I think that's a pretty unusual misplay for a player of his level. That villager was in the line of sight of 3 or 4 scouts on 3 or 4 occasions. I think he should have denied this tower.
Yeah, you're probably right. He should. And, well, the tower's going to come up and range that wood line. He'll have to move out to the left side, which is fine because it's actually safe anyway. And meanwhile, he's sending his own villagers forward. So that tower is just going to tell him that, hey, Tim probably doesn't have stone to build his own defensive tower. And now my tower is going to come up on his gold, which is a little better right now because you only have 1 gold here. Where else is he going to grab gold from? He goes out to the right side. That's a long way away. It's exposed. BacT can easily fall back from this wood line and go to the second wood line, no problem. So I'd say BacT's tower is more significant, does more damage, and he's even coming forward with those villas to build a second tower as well. So going to tower hop forward or leapfrog forward a little bit. Using the tower to damage the spears. Spears struggling to do much here at all as they just get kited around by the scouts. So everything's working out well for BacT so far in this game.
Yeah, maybe a calculated, pretending not to see that villager. I don't know. We'll never know, I guess. We'll have to ask BacT. Just letting the tower go up. As you said, though, it's not a good tower because it actually doesn't range the lumber camp right now. We'll need fletching to get that range. So It's actually a pretty bad tower. Yeah, Okay, so maybe BacT tricking us, but he's coming forward with towers of his own, and this is exactly the situation that BacT wants to be in. He wants to be aggressive, he wants to be towering, he wants to be
Oh yeah.
sowing the seeds of chaos, and this is not fun for Tim to have to play against a guy who thrives on chaos.
Yeah, this is perfect for him, actually. You know, he is getting up some great towers in Tim's base now. These towers are going to range the farms. They're denying the berries. They're in range of the archery ranges, so when the archers come out, they're going to take some additional damage. Things stacking up in BacT's favor. Tim will have enough stone for a counter tower on the right side, and it looks like he'll get that up, but BacT could move around to the left and start towering up the stone. Oh, sorry, the wood as well. That's actually an outpost from BacT, so I thought he was making a tower there. He was not. So really, really good stuff from him. These scouts haven't been able to do too much, actually, but they're a constant threat, and they can keep an eye on the counterattack. If Tim sends these archers and skirms across the map, the scouts will just deal with them straight away. So BacT's position is fantastic right now.
Yeah, BacT putting on a lot of pressure. He will have fletching to beef up those towers, and he does have an archery range down of his own with a couple skirmishers coming. Villagers roaming off to the left side from the blue player. He's doing a good job. He's not just threatening with these scouts, but he's actually keeping an eye on where his opponent's military is. And he knows right now that there's basically nothing on this left side for Tim, and he's coming for the jugular, Zach. He's going to go for that back wood line, I think, with a couple more towers eventually.
Yeah, but the tower from Tim is coming up in the wood line already. He knows that's the next place to be hit, so he's going to just tower that up preemptively. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult for Tim. He has to turtle, really, and be able to find a way to push out at some point. That's not going to be easy, given that BacT his... well, he has the better army with the scouts, and if he starts making archers as well, then it's going to be tough. Maybe he won't make archers, actually. He might just keep making skirms. If I was BacT, I'd try and go castle now, because I don't think that Tim can realistically counterattack, and because, you know, you're pretty much walled up, and you have towers at home, and you've got an eye on where your opponent's army is. So I think Castle Age for BacT and Knights would basically seal the deal.
Yeah, and there's a couple of details too that, you know, BacT actually has a couple of outposts around the map, and he just did get a good look at where Tim's army is, and probably got a good look at where it was going before it was out of range of that tower. That's going to allow our player in blue to get his army back home in time for the counterattack. Like you said, that counterattack doesn't have that much teeth because the unit composition from BacT is pretty good. If his skirmishers can focus down the spears, his scouts will have an absolute field day. He should be totally fine. Quick resource count for you guys: 400 food, 350 gold in the bank for BacT. Tim is going to have about 200 food and about 150 gold. So BacT doing a little better on resources. It seems to be in a good spot here.
Yeah, totally. He's definitely sending his army the wrong way, though. I thought that he would have known that army was coming. You'll see it now. The tower in the south is attacking. Going to be hard for Tim to really find an angle there. And yeah, there you go. BacT will wheel the army around and send them down south. I think Franks have gotten so much better with the expansions, thanks to the scout HP and the berry gather bonus. They used to be one of the worst civs in 1v1 pre-expansions. Now they're actually solid, but this is messy from BacT. He is going to lose 2 or 3 villagers right here, maybe even 4. But that tower doing good damage onto the spears is just going to open up the opportunity for BacT to now come in and clean this whole army. Meanwhile, he's going castle. This looks like BacT's game to lose. This really looks like he's got this. But I don't want to call it too soon. And I want to see if Tim can hold on here, as BacT will hit the castle age in just a moment.
Yeah, very slow encirclement here from BacT. He's like the Python in this game, just slowly encircling that small army now from Tim. Was a pretty good sized army before. But like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of fear of a counterattack because you have the mobility to get back home and you have a tower back at home to basically keep you safe. Tim still got one cheeky Snuckville in the back corner. For now, he's going to live, but not really too much of a threat yet. Maybe he can do something special with that unit. But for now, like you said, BacT in the driver's seat. Castle Age will be in soon. Tim is about to click up, so he's going to give it a go here. Does have double ranges back at home, does have a couple archers, but tough sledding from here on forward for Tim.
Yeah, things are getting dicey for Tim now, really, as the Castle Age will come through and the double stable knights will begin. This could be BacT finding his way into the grand final versus Tato here. If he wins this game now, if he closes this one out now, he's going to get himself into that grand final. He'll be against Tato, and we're going to be seeing that right after this game if BacT manages to pull this one off. Forward Siege Workshop, looks like he's going to stay aggressive on 1TC. That's what I want to see. And we're even going to see a castle drop following up as well. Maybe a forward castle, maybe he'll build it defensively. But in the end, that's going to be a castle, a Siege Workshop, and knights on the map for BacT, while Tim is only halfway to the castle age.
Yeah, BacT right now, totally in the driver's seat. As you said, the castle is coming. The Siege Workshop is down. Siege Workshop pumping out a mangonel here early. That makes things pretty difficult for Tim because, like I mentioned before, he's got a couple of archers here in defense. Not only are there skirmishers to stop him, but there's also going to be mangoes. Knights rolling in, and the win condition continues to dwindle for the player in red. Tim is trying to lame up the resources of BacT, and he's trying to get a cheeky tower into the back of his base. He's trying anything he can right now, but these are very minor advantages that he's trying to gain. He's losing so much more back at home. I just don't know if he can pull it off. Maybe BacT, with a vintage performance here, is ready to stamp his ticket to the finals.
Yeah, man, this is huge. The castle going up on the gold there, going to deny that. And like you say, that sneaky tower, yeah, that's great. It's going to maybe kill a couple of villas, deny a little bit of gold, but it's not the same as a castle on your gold. It's not the same as 3 towers surrounding your main gold and 2 more surrounding your other one. Tim is really in trouble, and he knows it, but he's not going to give it up just yet. If he gives it up now, then he's out. He's eliminated. He doesn't go to the final. He's going to fight, and I think that's the right call to make. It's not completely out of the question that he can pull this one back. It's certainly going to be a challenge, though. He's building a castle next to his town center. That will take down 2 of these towers. If he builds a siege workshop, he could take down the 3rd. He could get his main gold back. There are ways back in this for Tim, but it just is not going to be easy.
Yeah, absolutely. He needs BacT to work with him a little bit here. I think BacT's got to make a couple of decent sized errors, and Tim's got to make a lot of really good plays in order to make this work. Here come the knights, though, from BacT. He's going to run in on the castle. Castle is on about 70%, but there are 6 knights here, and it's going to be denied for now.
For now, but no defense upgrades on these knights. They're going to take a lot of damage from the TC with Bodkin Arrow, and Tim should finish his castle. He might lose a couple of vills, but it's absolutely worth it. The hammers are going down. The castle is going up, 94%. Is it going to be a doubt castle? Surely not. As the castle comes up, and those knights will take a lot of damage, the mangonel will instantly die, and, well, BacT has to get the hell out of there. And as we said, Mayans are Mayans. If there's one Sith that could come back from this, it is definitely the Mayans. And, well, we will see if he can do just that. It's not going to be easy, though. It is a tall order, as Tim's economy is also a little bit of a mess with 1,000 wood in the bank, no gold, no food, very little stone. Maybe Tim could break out and build another TC somewhere. Not there, though. What is that TC? Come on. What is this?
That is a very weird TC next to the cliff, but, well, slim pickings when you don't control very much of the map, I guess.
True.
Right now, like you said, Tim's kind of, he's up the creek. He's in trouble, but he is going to start building some plumes. So that is a little bit of a bright side for him. He's not abusing the market. He's using it a little here and there to keep the plume production going. As you mentioned, his castle should clean up some of these towers, and then he should be able to win back that main gold on the front. There's still a possibility here. I mean, I don't think you or I, Zach, would say that engagement from BacT was like really great. He ran those knights in. He did kill some villagers on the castle, but it came at a cost, kind of diminishing that military by a little bit. And now maybe Tim can get something rolling. As you mentioned in the last game that we saw Mayans, they can do a lot with not such an amazing economy. And I think we'll see continued plume production here. And Tim's got at least a chance. He's got at least a chance.
Yeah, there's always a chance, and I mean, obviously he believes there's still a chance, otherwise he would have called GG already. I mean, look at the scores, they're relatively close. 200-point difference is not huge at this stage of the game. We got the Siege Workshop from Tim coming up, so he's going to try and take down that next tower and reclaim his gold. Obviously, BacT will take down the towers on the other gold as Tim adds his 3rd TC. So TC-wise, they're even. Villager-wise, however, BacT is 20 ahead. So there's no questioning the fact that BacT has a huge advantage right now. He certainly has every card in his hand at the moment. But there's definitely a reason to play on for Tim, and that's because the plumed archers. He can send them across the map and do some raiding damage, and he will do just that. Finding villagers on this wood line here is going to be quite nice, and a way for him to start to equalize that villager count.
Scale barding armor and husbandry coming for BacT. He's going to beef up those knights a little bit more. Right now, I think Tim wants to get a couple villagers on this wood line and then kind of lose this army in the fog of war before BacT can really react to it. For now, Tim is rushing down the last tower on that front gold of his base, so he has won back his gold, but BacT is here with some knights. BacT did not turn around with his army to face the plumes. He's staying forward and trying to starve his opponent of gold.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. We're going to see Tim basically defending with pikes, I think, and then he's going to send his plumes forward to raid. I think that's his game plan at the moment, at least. We still don't see +2 defense from BacT, so he may lose his knights here, though he's sending them in he's sending more in and should end up killing off the plumed archers. But man, I mean, plumed archers still performing well. They'll take down 3 knights with about 6 plumed archers. That's a good trade. That's actually a winning trade for Tim.
Yeah, and a couple villagers to boot. So Tim's still trying to claw his way back in. As we mentioned, BacT, though, I think he's making some really nice calls. Rather than go home and crush those plumes and get really great value, he keeps some knights on the front, wants to protect his siege, and he wants to keep strangling Tim of any gold economy. Tim just worked really hard to win that front gold on his base, and BacT came back with 2 fresh towers to challenge it.
Absolutely, and he doesn't want to let the gold ever be taken ever again. It's like, Tim, this is my gold now. You can try and take it, but I will deny you. And, well, for now he's still denied. But Tim, with a bit of siege, I don't know why he's not making any siege. I don't see a mangonel or anything. He could push this back. I think he needs a mangonel, to be honest. For now, though, the ram will get taken out, and mangonel could be pretty valuable, but for the time being, a 3rd barracks, more and more spears. He'll probably end up buying or selling some resources to get pike. And yeah, I guess there it is. It's coming in.
Yeah, this is not a position you want to be in. Tim right now is searching on the edge of the map. He's got 5 or 6 villagers. Looks like 6 villagers. And they're outposting up the whole left side. They're looking desperately for a gold pile anywhere on the map. Unfortunately, it's going to be a while before they find one. And there are some knights that are kind of roaming around that could find them first. So Tim is looking. He really needs a lifeline. He needs the AOC gods, or rather the AoE HD gods, to smile on him here and send him some gold, or else this game is going to be over.
He's made an Eagle Scout to try and kill the mangonels, but BacT's ready with some throwing axemen, which is interesting. I think he saw him making a lot of spears and pikes, so throwing axemen are a great unit to deal with that, and even deal with the eagles as well. So that's pretty nice, as he takes down the TC on the right side, or at least tries to, with these mangonels. But yeah, the reason I say Tim would be have a lot of use for a mangonel is just to defend from any siege that comes in. He can easily range it with the mangonel, but I guess, yeah, he's got the pikes, so they'll do the job as well. And for now, looks like Tim's focus is just going to be on trying to push this back and get that gold under his control.
I think it's been 5 just absolutely chaotic games, but it's been a real pleasure here so far. I guess it's been 4 so far. BacT is still trying to stamp his ticket to the finals, working really hard, does have a nice advantage, but man, there's so much going on around the map that some small advantages are going in Tim's favor. He's able to rush down one of those mangonels for now and slow down the bleeding. He's got a couple of pikes out. He's still searching for a win condition, but you know what? A town center on that front gold would be a really, really nice bonus, but oh boy. Here come the knights out.
Yep, get back to the tower, Tim. You got to get back. Where are the pikes, by the way? Oh, they went around. Okay, I thought he'd keep them close by while he's building the town center, at least. But yeah, we are going to see the TC going up by the looks of things. I don't know why BacT is backing up right there. He could deny that, but I guess he doesn't want to die to even more pikes as they come out of the barracks. But hey, if Tim can win this game, what a comeback that would be. 99% on the town center. So close.
Trying to send a villager out to finish it.
There we go. He's got it.
There it
Good
is.
stuff.
But unfortunately for Tim, that's a small victory, but the bigger victory probably for BacT is that Imperial Age will be in very soon. We have seen BacT with a very valuable standing army for a long time. He's got a lot of knights. He's actually healing those up with monks, being very patient. Has a couple of throwing axes out. You'd much rather be blue in this situation, but like you said, maybe
well, red actually, because I have BacT in red. But yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you'd much rather be BacT, who we all know under the colors he's actually playing in his traditional orange, I suppose.
Yes, he is.
So, you know, he's still in a great spot, still trying to finish this game off, taking his time, playing as you should when you're in a good lead in a big tournament game. Imperial Age comes in. Tim does not give the GG here. He's gonna keep playing on.
Of course he's gonna play on, but it just feels like, you know, hey, I just won my main gold back, and now BacT's just throwing a castle down, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. He's making a lot of throwing axemen. He's doing cavalier. This is really BacT's game right here. You know, look, he's killing off the eco on the right side. He's got throwing axemen in there. He's got a TC going up on that gold where Tim's gold was, or TC's was before. On the left side, sorry, Tim's trying to build another castle, but the knights are there to clean up. And if he wants to send Pike to deal with that, well, it's not going to happen because the throwing axemen are there and the GG is called. BacT gets the win. It's 3-1 versus Tim, and he makes it through to the grand final versus Tato. BacT is going to be so pleased with that win and finding his way to face Tato up next.
BacT is looking absolutely vicious, and I think Tato better watch his back in the grand final here in the finals of this tournament. Boy, oh boy, what a good tournament it's been. BacT beats Mateus and beats Slam, and now beats Tim to get to the final. Tato took down Fire, he took down Lon, and then earlier today he took down Nikov. And the grand final of this tournament's coming your way, guys. Very excited to see the Middle East 1v1 get wrapped up here today. Zach, what are your final thoughts on this series? It was a great set of games.
It was, and BacT just looked dominant, which is impressive because we saw, remember, Tim beat Leary 2-0. And now BacT comes and beats Tim 3-1, looking dominant while he does it. He's going to be so motivated. Like, the motivation for BacT in this grand final, not only is there $1,000 for first place, which is, you know, pretty significant, but the motivation to take down Tato as well, that's going to be huge. And he is just going to be so pumped to get into that grand final and see if he can take down Tato, his former teammate, remember, who's now gone to Secret. He's already taken down Slam. And if he could take down Tato in the grand final, well, he'll be the secret killer.
It feels like BacT is summoning some old man strength. He's not old by any stretch, but it's like when you're 17 and you think like, I'm stronger than my dad now. And then you like test that out and you're like, I'm really not stronger than my dad now. BacT is just showing up like, oh man, it's just a vintage, beautiful performance. I'm gonna step back here in a moment, guys, and let Mem and Rez take on the finals. But what a great series, Zach. Thanks for bringing me in on this one. This was a lot of fun. Glad to see BacT in top form.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Of course, guys, you can follow Killer B on his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/killer_B_AOC. And are you still doing your breakfast with Killer B?
I haven't been doing it lately. I've been really, really crazy at work. I've actually got some big trips coming to Asia through work, so I've been just focusing on keeping the ship going. But we'll get the Killer B channel rolling again. Until then, I'll be here on Escape, trying to help you guys out whenever you need it. Zach, keep up the great work, man. This tournament has been an absolute blast, and I can't wait to see the finals. I will predict BacT's old man strength will win him the final here. I'll make a bold prediction, but enjoy the rest of the matches.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure, and you know, I hope to have you back soon as well. We've had some fantastic games this tournament. We really have. It's been so enjoyable the whole way through. And what a grand final we have coming up next. Brackets there on the screen for you. This is how we got this far. Tim versus BacT, obviously ending with a BacT 3-1 victory. And there you go, all the scores on your screen. I'll give you a moment to look at that so you can see exactly what's happened up until this point. As we prepare to get Resonance 22 and Membin here, hopefully they are both ready. Let's see though. Just gonna check whether those guys are ready to go, because I'd rather get to the grand final sooner rather than later.